a half-mile wide tornado on the ground.
Looked up above us, there's a white swirl just started down. We hauled it pretty sharp, hollered tornado.
It just happened. I mean, just wham, there it was.
Watch faster, George. Catching us. You gotta go, buddy.
The tornado. The most violent wind on Earth. One of the deadliest forces of nature. Tornado Alert. What you need to know. A program about some of the most violent acts of nature and how to survive them.
Hello, I'm WNDS meteorologist Al Kaprielian. Over the next hour, you will see some of the most dramatic tornado footage ever taken and the devastation they leave behind. Although Tornado Alley is where tornadoes are most likely to strike, 50 states have reported them. And we'll show you footage of the 1953 Worcester tornado. We'll take a look at the cutting edge of scientific research on tornadoes and the new forecasting technology that warns us of these storms better than ever before. And we'll clean up a few misconceptions about tornadoes, plus a few tips on how to survive one. Now let's team up with FAA's Troy Dungan as he looks at past tornadoes and an in-depth look at the Tulsa tornado of 1993.
As a television weather forecaster, I've seen tornadoes born, it seems, out of nothing. One moment, it appears to be a normal thunderstorm forming. And then, suddenly, in seconds, a churning funnel dips out of the sky with winds sometimes exceeding 300 miles per hour. It destroys homes and buildings, tossing huge trucks and girders like toys, and leaving others untouched, all in a matter of seconds. Tornadoes can last only moments, or they can stay on the ground for hours. They come in all shapes and sizes, long and thin, or as wide as a mile. There's no place totally safe from tornadoes. They've struck in all 50 states. But here, if we look at this map, we can see that they occur in this area more than any other. We call it Tornado Alley. It cuts right through the heart of the United States, from Texas up to the Great Plains to the upper Midwest. Here's why. In the spring, warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico moves northward and meets warm, dry air from the west and cool, dry air from Canada. It's on this border of colliding air masses that tornadoes are born. Nationwide, about 1,000 tornadoes a year are reported. Over the last 4 years, tornadoes have killed an average of about 40 people a year and done about $500 million a year in damage. But there's really no predicting what tornadoes are going to do from one year to the next. The deadliest outbreak of tornadoes in this century occurred on March 18, 1925. In fact, it was one of the worst catastrophes in American history. For 3 hours, a single storm tore a path more than 200 miles across Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana. The same system spawned tornadoes in Kentucky, Tennessee, and Alabama. In all, 792 people lost their lives. April 3rd and 4th, 1974, 148 tornadoes broke out across Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Ohio. 350 people died. Damage was in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
It was just a big roar, and I don't know. It was just terrible.
I'd say 4 or 5 minutes, it was all over. And we were laughing and joking about it. It was a big, big storm. And then we happened to come over on the campus, and the scene was real frightening. It was a chaotic scene. Everyone was just astonished. No one could believe what had happened. The whole campus was devastated.
April 10th, 1979, a photographer captured a dark, ominous tornado tearing across Texas farmland. It approached Wichita Falls as a hailstorm, then hit the city hard as a tornado. Over 40 people were killed and 3,000 homes were destroyed. And more recently, in 1987, a tornado bore down on the little West Texas town of Zaragoza, killing 30 people and destroying every home in the community. The deadliest tornado of 1993 struck Tulsa, Oklahoma on a Saturday afternoon late in April. The storm hit suddenly, and within minutes, the damage was done. Hundreds of people lost their homes. Scores were injured. and 7 people lost their lives. Early that afternoon, storm clouds had yet to form over Tulsa, but weather forecasters saw something approaching. 1:30 Central Time, the National Weather Service office in Tulsa issues a storm outlook for eastern Oklahoma. Forecasters report a moderate risk of severe thunderstorms, but note isolated tornadoes also possible. 250 miles away in Kansas City, other eyes are watching Oklahoma.
We have 2 areas that we're looking at today.
This is the National Severe Storms Forecast Center.
Was with some very warm air at 850 millibars.
Here, forecasters monitor potentially severe thunderstorms across the United States.
Severe, yeah. Primarily damaging winds and maybe some large hail. So we'll get this out here then shortly.
If forecasters here believe that severe weather will form, they will issue a watch. 3:16 p.m. Jim Henderson, Deputy Director of the Severe Storm Center, issues a bulletin. A tornado watch for central and east central Oklahoma.
Watch means exactly that, watch out. Conditions are right for tornadic activity. And so we felt that by putting this out, you know, Saturday afternoon you've got a lot of recreational boaters, you've got campers, you've got people that are off not doing their normal thing. So it behooves us to be out a little bit early with those kinds of situations so that any type of mass news dissemination can get out to the most vast audience.
Tulsa TV forecaster Jim Giles hears word of the tornado watch and decides to come in on this Saturday afternoon should severe weather develop.
Well, we were concerned about the situation because we had a very strong upper-level system that gave it a lot of support for severe weather.
Giles takes advantage of his station's Doppler radar system. It's picking up signs of the approaching storm and the real danger sign, high-speed winds moving in rotation. 6 p.m. With the tornado watch still in effect, the Tulsa Weather Service office puts out a severe thunderstorm warning, but still no tornado warning.
And you can see it, it literally...
At the television station, the Doppler radar is also showing rotation. Green represents wind moving toward the radar, red away from it.
And we could see that the storm was starting to rotate. We were getting large hail reports. We were then telling the people that a severe storm, in fact, was moving towards the city of Tulsa, and we should be ready for that.
This is a Doppler 6 weather update.
Good afternoon, friends. Meteorologist Jim Giles here. Just been outside the door in our downtown studios, and we're seeing rotation pretty much over downtown. Let's take a look at Doppler 6 radar. Now, there are no tornado warnings out for the area, but let me show you the intensity. The reds and pinks are up to 50 miles per hour away from the radar. The greens are towards the radar. So we're seeing some very good rotation right over here in downtown Tulsa.
As 6:30 rolls around, the storm starts pushing into the downtown section of Tulsa. At 6:30, we ran outside the studio, and you can really see the wall cloud directly over the studio in the downtown parts of the city. We run in, go on the air, and tell people that the storm is definitely rotating.
Giles uses the station's Doppler radar to forecast where the storm is headed.
Now, the rotation is very broad. So let's do a Doppler 6 pathfinder on this rotation, pretty much centered over the downtown part of Tulsa. We're moving this off to about the east-northeast at about 25 miles per hour. That's the direction of this rotation as it heads on north of Broken Arrow and over towards the Catoosa area.
Roger Edwards, a forecaster from Kansas City, has taken the day off to chase this storm across Oklahoma. He shoots video of the developing storm straight ahead of it.
I was driving east on I-44 near the junction of 244 in northeast Tulsa, and I got behind the storm some, but I saw the rain wrapping around the backside of the mesocyclone, the parent circulation of the tornado to my east, over the interstate. I could not see the tornado inside. The warning was out. I knew there was one in there, but I couldn't see it.
Back at the TV studio, Jim Giles uses his station's Doppler radar not only to pinpoint the tornado, but to predict specifically where the tornado will hit and when. Forecasting accuracy that would have been impossible a few years ago, before Doppler technology became available.
36th Street North and 145th East, that rotation should get there. The leading edge of it at 651, Pine and 145th East at 651, Tiger at 652, Pine and 177th East at 654, Catoosa 658, about 7 o'clock in the verdigris area. A heavy core here, we're in a heavy core.
As the storm nears Catoosa, just east of Tulsa, the tornado is invisible, obscured by the rain and hail of the massive thunderstorm.
When the tornado was in front of me, I could not see it. It was completely wrapped in rain. What I saw were rain curtains moving toward the south at a fast rate across the road. And shortly after that, the brake lights up ahead due to the car stop because of the damage from the tornado.
As you see from this report, a tornado can look like a strong rainstorm. If Roger hadn't had his radio on, he would never have known about the conditions in the tornado he was driving into. On the radio, you will hear two types of advisements, a watch or a warning, and you need to know the difference. A watch means conditions are favorable. A warning means a tornado has been sighted or is imminent. Act now. The key is to pay close attention to the meteorologist. When we return, we will go back to Troy Dungan as he looks at what happened when the Tulsa tornado touched down. And stay tuned later as we look at the footage of the Worcester tornado of 1953.
Just as the television station's Doppler has predicted, the storm hits Catoosa, just east of Tulsa, at 2 minutes till 7. The tornado was plowed into an interstate highway on a Saturday evening, hitting the most vulnerable, people in cars, perhaps unaware of the power of the storm into which they were driving.
Just stay where you are, ma'am. Just concentrate on breathing deep. We're going to get help as quick as we can.
And he's real warm.
Good afternoon, friends. Meteorologist Jim Giles here. We do have some serious damage from a tornado on the east side of Tulsa. We've been keeping you apprised of that. Some serious damage. I think we have Steve Schroeder in the field. Steve, where are you at?
Hi, Jim. Right now I'm at 193rd and I-44. There are 18-wheelers on their side. We witnessed one 18-wheeler on top of a car. The damage is just very extensive.
The tornado has blown cars and 18-wheeler trucks, in some cases hundreds of feet, and has ripped through heavy metal buildings as if they were made of paper. The tornado has borne in on the little town of Catoosa, knocking down trees like toothpicks and smashing houses and trailer homes to nothing. 7 people died horrible, violent deaths, most along freeways, in cars, where they were helpless against the powerful winds.
We run down and looked around, run back up, looked around, looked up above us. There's a white swirl just started down. We hauled it for the shop, hollered tornado. Bailed off the shop. That's why no bricks is a flying and it's a rumbling like freight train. I think the one that broke his ribs hit me in the back, busted one of mine and got him. Sucked the watch right off my arm, my hat.
All totaled, 7 dead, 100 injured, hundreds homeless, millions of dollars in damage. The community shredded by one of the most powerful forces of nature. It was just 5 minutes after the warning that the tornado hit cars on the interstate. 13 minutes before it hit the truck stops. Some people heard sirens, but others in their cars were presumably unaware.
The people were caught as this tornado rolled right down the highway. Many of them jumped out into ditches. They were spared. Others were caught in their cars where they couldn't see the tornado. Many fatalities at that point.